A few weeks ago, I published a video that covered the disease-adjacent game Hypixel Skyblock, and it seemed to do quite well. And shortly after that video was released, I gained enough money to purchase an almost max of 50mm Midas sword. With my newly acquired gadget, you'd think that I'd spend a lot more time playing Skyblock, but you are wrong. I actually did spend like 6 hours playing dungeons, and I was going to upload a video on it, but it was just super boring and I could barely make it past stage 1. Instead, I filled my inventory with lifting weights and went AFK for almost a week. Meanwhile, I decided to try a game that I've had experience with in the past. SkyFactory. SkyFactory, just like Hypixel Skyblock, is like regular Skyblock, except it's not. SkyFactory is much more different in the sense that you don't get to buy all of your items from an auction house. Now you may be thinking, Solosice, I never knew that you played SkyFactory. You have never uploaded a video about it on your channel. And to that I say, first of all, shut up, simp, and second, you just never saw anything that I had public. In fact, if you check on my Instagram, you will find evidence of YouTube videos that even I don't have access to anymore. And what was the subject of those videos? SkyFactory. Unfortunately, I deleted those videos, along with all my videos before that, and the only things that remain are my valuable memories of that time. So, I decided to try the game once again. Now, when you want to install a game, where do you go? That's right, you go to Google. So I went to Google and I searched SkyFactory download. And just to my luck, it was downloadable from twitch.tv. You know, that one streaming service that I intentionally don't use due to their controversial staff and creators. So I clicked the big download button and waited for the zip file to arrive on my PC. Arrive on my PC. Turns out my computer sucks, and it won't let me download the file from Twitch's website. The only way to get around this was to download the Twitch application and run the mod straight from there. So after painfully installing Twitch, I was able to get my hands on the modpack. The first thing I recognized upon opening it is that it had way too many mods. Even though my PC is considered high-end by the average benchmark program, it still took a whopping 7 minutes for the client to load. Do you know what I could do in 7 minutes? I could read a chapter of the Bible in that amount of time. And I did. Finally, I started my SkyFactory world and got to work. In SkyFactory, you always spawn on a tree, but this is no ordinary tree. This is a dirt tree. Discovering this, I was very confused.
What the frick is this?
Turns out there are a ton of substances that you can get in the game just from trees. And with 33 saplings, the possibilities are endless. After mining the dirt tree, I picked up the dirt acorns that dropped from the leaves. I then built a small platform for one tree and a few blocks. I remembered something about wooden cauldrons from SkyFactory 3, and I attempted to recall the crafting recipe for it. I failed, miserably, and ended up creating some sort of stomping box. I tried crushing the acorns, which got me nowhere, so I decided to just dedicate all of my attention to getting more achievements. My first goal was to make dirt, which I found out I can create by mixing some dirt resin and acorns in the most inconvenient pattern possible. Both of these materials are gained from the dirt trees, so I began to farm them. During this bit, I rediscovered the ability to grow trees faster simply by clicking shift while standing next to them. My island started to fill up, so I used the abundance of wood I had collected when mining dirt trees to expand it. This allowed me to utilize saplings even more since I had extra space to plant them. I spent several minutes farming more dirt trees, and eventually I concluded that I needed to increase my variety of saplings. I found out that petrified acorns can be used to create a petrified sapling, which produces the materials for cobblestone. To get the acorns, you need to hang a dirt acorn on a drying rack, which is what I did. I crafted the petrified sapling and quickly replaced all of the other saplings on my island. After I secured the cobble, I realized that my island was too small, so I expanded it yet again. I eventually wound up with enough cobblestone to create a furnace, which was very useful for getting charcoal. Along with expanding my island, I also added more plots for trees. With the freshly smelted charcoal, I created a batch of torches which I used to light up my depression-inducing island. I was beginning to advance quickly, and I seemed to be getting the hang of SkyFactory. I created a clay sapling after obtaining dirt and petrified resin, shortly before smelting an acorn for food. I then smashed a few other acorns using that stomping bin from earlier, which enabled me to craft the gravel sapling. My inventory was getting quite full, requiring me to craft a couple of chests. I assumed that I would just lazily plop all of my items in the chests from now on, since I remembered a device called an ME system could be used to store millions of items in just a few blocks. Using the drops from clay saplings, I created some clay. Obviously, it's named a clay tree. I'm so funny. Which allowed me to craft and fire a clay bucket. I figured there would be a use for killing mobs in this stage of the game, so I built a tiny platform about 20 blocks away from the mainland. However, I would need to wait for the night since I was too lazy to just block off the light from the sun using a roof. I decided to give myself a bit of insurance by blocking off the entrance of the mob island, just to make sure I didn't get owned by a gang of creepers. While I was preparing for the mobs to spawn, I crafted a bone sapling using some bone meal that I got from stomping on dirt. At last, I could challenge the mobs that I had anticipated for the past 6 minutes. I made my way over to the island, and before I could even start to do damage, I was getting blasted in the face by some Jedi Master with a laser gun.
What the frick? What is going on? What is that?
Realizing that I am not equipped to handle hostile mobs, I returned to the farming process. I managed to cop some water from my Stomporama piece of machinery, and I also tried to create mud by stomping on 10 dirt blocks. Turns out you can place a single dirt block in a cauldron full of water and you will get the same result. After wasting over 40 dirt resin and 30 dirt acorns, I created the cottonwood sapling by dipping a clay sapling in the mud. I also crafted a sand sapling by, once again, stomping on acorns. Apparently, there's an achievement for picking up a piece of string, so I got that too. I somehow managed to acquire a birch sapling, which, if you smelt in a furnace, will change into a coal sapling. Using the power of coal, sand, and gravel resin, I created tin amber. What does tin amber do? I have no idea. Supposedly, you can chuck it into a smeltery and it produces a mediocre material, tin, which I would need for later. I also used the coal trees materials to craft coal. Just like the tin amber, I mixed a bunch of different resins into iron amber. Iron amber can be smelted into iron, which I am much more familiar with. Just because I could, I expanded my island quite a bit and added a bunch more plots for trees. Remember how I said you could use tin amber to make regular tin using a smeltery? Well, I decided to build a smeltery. Last I remember, SkyFactory didn't even use a smeltery until you were around 12 hours into the game. And suddenly, I was being tasked with creating one using only some trees, a cobblestone axe, and my dedication. I started on my journey to craft seared bricks, and during this time, I discovered the cobble gen. Somehow, this far in the game, it never occurred to me that you could use a cobble generator to get cobblestone. I was so caught up in the action-packed fun of crafting saplings that I never even glanced upon the idea. I had just been using my spare cobblestone to repair my axe from time to time, but I soon discovered that you could use cobblestone cauldrons in order to turn cobble into lava, making a cobble gen possible. I mined about 32 pieces of cobblestone before eventually putting out the lava to ensure my entire island doesn't burn to the ground. After all of that mining, I came to realize that I was hungry. I was fed up with eating the standard cooked acorns, and I decided to move to an alternative. I have no idea how, but I somehow gained possession of oak saplings. And what do oak trees produce? Apples. In fact, there is a tree that is designed to yield more apples than a standard oak tree does, making this food source perfect for the early game. So I planted an apple sapling and waited for the magic to commence. During my wait, I created a basic smeltery that could hold a few blocks of iron, which took me nearly half an hour to make. With a new addition to my island, I got to work on the grind for new saplings. First things first, I created an iron sapling using some iron amber that I had melted. Next, I created a tin sapling using some tin amber that I had melted. In the middle of all this, I happened to fall right into the lava that my cobble gen was using, which got me very close to death.
Oh my gosh. Why?
I used some random pieces of resin and a bottle of water to make a lapis sapling, which later allowed me to craft lead amber. After smelting and pouring the lead amber onto a dark oak sapling, I created the lead sapling. I also used some of the excess iron amber that I had to finally form a few iron ingots. With more resins and some random dye, I created the redstone sapling. I somehow obtained gold and poured it onto an oak sapling to get a gold sapling. I then got a mineral sapling, which I didn't even consider reproducing, and poured some more minerals on it to get the silver sapling. Finally, I obtained the diamond sapling, which, just like the other greats, is created by throwing together a plethora of resins and a redstone sapling. I spent a lot of time farming materials from the diamond trees, and eventually gained enough items to craft 9 diamond amber. Now, I'm not totally sure what diamond amber does, but it was definitely not the material I was looking for. Turns out you can't smelt it in the smeltery, rendering the amber practically useless. I discovered that instead, you need to place the raw resin and acorns into the smeltery in order to get molten diamond, which can be hardened into regular diamonds. Before continuing, I took a short intermission to handpick apples from my apple tree farm. I placed a hopper on top of the smeltery controller in a desperate attempt to make the process of getting diamonds easier. Thankfully, it worked, and I was able to place enough materials in the smeltery to pour 1 diamond block. After waiting over 2 minutes for the diamond block to harden, I had finally gained the most powerful material in the game. You can even hear my excitement as I gaze upon what has taken me several hours to obtain.
Oh, cool.
To celebrate, I chopped down all of my apple trees, which yielded a ton of apples in the end. Some random achievement I decided to get while I was waiting for fate to assign me another task was the slab achievement. All I did was place a chest in the crafting menu, click the output, which was a slab chest, and boom, easy dub for ya boy. Fate eventually did assign me another task, the task of getting passive mobs. I built another island, this one made out of dirt. I needed animals such as the cow and pig in order to finish the first page of achievements, meaning that I required a lot of dirt to help them spawn more quickly. After creating an infinite water source this late in the game, I also obtained obsidian by placing a bucket of water into a cauldron full of lava. I thought it would be a good time to give myself another shot with hostile mobs, so I began construction on a mob spawner. I have made many high-tech redstone mob spawners in the past, but I wasn't even going to fantasize that idea, so I threw up the most ghetto mob spawner possible, one with uncalculated height and only passive water to push the mobs down the chute. During construction, I failed to realize that mobs could spawn in the nighttime since I hadn't placed any torches. This almost resulted in my death, but ultimately it ended in a creeper frightening me and only set me back a few slabs. I finished the spawner, and while I was restocking my supply of apples, I managed to plainly waltz off the side of my island. This is when I found out that instead of falling into the void, you reappear at the top of the world. Somehow, I survived, but only physically. I was still considerably emotionally damaged.
Oh my lord, dude, I fell from the freaking gates of heaven and somehow didn't die. Cool.
I noticed there was a flaw with my mob spawner. The mobs weren't falling into the chute due to the single block of water that they were hovering on. The fix for this was simple, but not easy. I tried to re-access the infested mob spawner by just running in and killing everything in sight. But unfortunately, I was greeted by the same laser gun wielding Jedi who killed me in seconds. It took me a total of 10 agonizing deaths, but I finally reclaimed possession of the territory. I also recognized that I could have just right-clicked my grave and I would have been given all of my items back exactly where they left off, including armor. I obtained some Inferium essence after slaughtering a few mobs, which can be used to craft some sort of magical seed. However, I failed to acknowledge that you need much more Inferium essence to make this possible, so at this stage of the game, it was worthless. Oh, and also this happened. I continued farming more dirt trees in order to expand my animal island, and I also set on a quest for better tools. Tinker's Construct is a mod that allows access to a ton of new tools in addition to the plethora of attachments for them. For the time being, I created a pickaxe head cast by pouring gold onto a bone pickaxe head. While I was theorizing how to use this mod to my advantage, I noticed that a cow had finally spawned. I swiftly rushed over to collect the creature's succulent milk, as it would enable me to create the blue slime sapling. In an effort to automate food a little more, I crafted the market using the wool I had collected from a fresh sheep. The creators of the market must have known that I would be playing the game, since they engineered a villager that falls from the sky when you place the market down, scaring me half to death and ultimately leaving me in major confusion. I hadn't realized just how many resources the market sells, so it was a pleasant surprise seeing all of the things I now had access to. I gathered 8 vines from drying out jungle saplings, which helped me to obtain a single cactus. I planted this cactus on my island, since I was nearly certain I would need it later. My main purpose for the market was to gain access to potatoes and wheat, which I could use to make food and also get the achievement for crafting a donut sapling. I crafted some dough and threw it into the furnace in order to create donuts, and in the meantime, I got back on my quest to forge better tools. I decided to use Tinker's Construct to craft a fairly decent mattock, which can be used as an axe, shovel, and hoe all at the same time. I started by crafting a bone mattock, but quickly realized it was trash. I improved on this mistake by creating some more casts and forging an iron mattock. This decision slightly increased the mining speed and the level. I took the dough from earlier and quickly used it to craft a few donuts, right before trading for some sugarcane. Going back to the mattock, I discovered that I could add up to 3 modifiers, so I chose diamond, which made the tool have more durability, and 2 hastes, which drastically improved the mining speed from 5.7 to 17.5. I now had a pretty hefty tool that would make chopping down trees much easier. Then a zombie jump scared me. After that fearful moment, I finally created the donut sapling, which I never ended up using. I had begun to branch out on achievements, and I crafted an auto crafter to help me craft things faster. It was at this moment that I found out about energy. Energy is used to power things, obviously. But in SkyFactory, energy is used so often that without it, completing the game is impossible. I decided to craft a simple combustion generator, which is basically a furnace, but it only takes fuel and turns it into energy. I also came across the cobblestone generator, which, for its price, seems incredibly overpowered. I was able to upgrade it to tier 3, making it generate 1 cobblestone every half second. I placed the contraption above a hopper leading into a chest, and just kinda left it there since I didn't have any immediate uses for cobblestone. I also randomly upgraded my mattock while mining trees, which gave it a small stat boost. I remembered that I needed to chop down my apple trees in order to restock my food supply, and when I did, I got an inappropriately large yield of apples. The achievement list under power informed me that I should use a charger as an energy storage, so I crafted a tier 3 charger and placed it next to my generator. I didn't really need energy at the moment, but who knows, in the future I may be fueling a massive civilization. On my never-ending desire to reap as many materials as possible from trees, I found the bonsai pot. The bonsai pot was something I glanced over at the beginning of my skyblock journey, but I should have paid more attention, because these things are absolutely insane. Bonsai pots essentially and literally grow trees for you. That's right, you heard me, I no longer had to cut down trees. Gangnag. I immediately capitalized on the opportunity to maximize my production speed by farming tons of clay trees to craft more bonsai pots. I was even able to create an entire chest dedicated to fuel for the combustion generator with this new perk. I was able to produce tons of iron amber, which led to the even larger production of iron ingots due to the powers of the smeltery. For whatever reason, the smeltery outputs 2 iron ingots for every 1 iron amber. Why? I have no clue. Is it balanced? Probably not. Did I abuse this aspect to the fullest? Certainly. I eventually had to expand the smeltery in order to keep up with the rapid production of iron amber. I then utilized the new space of the upgraded smeltery to spam diamond materials, which I gained by mindlessly clicking mouse 2 while strafing. I nearly filled the hopper system I had with all of the minerals I was gaining. I also used the new system to finish my animal island, which was long overdue. Solosice, this whole bonsai plant thing seems pretty cool. How did you not notice it before? Because I'm stupid. So, to make this system go to the maximum, did you just make a bunch more bonsai pots and harvest them continually? Well, what if I told you that there is an even more broken way to milk the system, and it's called popping bonsai pots. They take bonsai pots and make them automatic, as if bonsai pots weren't dumb enough on their own, they have the complete ability to give you free materials at the cost of nothing. So I built an elaborate system of hoppers and hopping bonsai pots, all requiring about 1,000 iron ingots, an hour and a half, and a chunk of my mental health. An incredibly easy to get achievement which I had yet to claim was the mud bucket achievement, so I decided to just fill that one in real quick. By that point, I had only one achievement left, and it was to get a bacon sapling. I launched the construction of a farming island, which would be super easy to build with the new abundance of dirt that I got from taking all of the items from the chests and throwing them into the auto crafter. Of course, along with this came a ton of waste, which for then I just decided to throw all of it off the island until I'm able to create some sort of filter. I wanted to take the farming route since you can just trade carrots for pork chops instead of waiting hours for a pig to spawn. Of course, right as I was going to plant the carrot seeds, I saw that a pig had spawned on the island. I killed the pig, and it dropped 3 raw pork chops. After cooking one of them, slapping it onto a chopping block, and throwing the final result into the crafting table, I had crafted the bacon sapling.
Yay, I won! We've now got this whole page completed. I'm so freaking proud of myself, bro. It only took 2 hours to get this achievement, and I see that as a win.
I had completed the basics of SkyFactory, and it only took me 12 hours to do so. I was at last finished with the first page of the achievement book, but the game doesn't stop there. A bit ago, I had mentioned that there are many more achievements in the book, and I've already started claiming a select few of them. I could continue playing the game, but that's for you guys to decide. If you would like to see more SkyFactory, make sure to whack that like button. In all seriousness, this mod pack is a ton of fun. Even though the majority of my time was spent holding mouse 1 on wood, I still enjoyed learning about all of the ways to progress quicker. I can safely say that SkyFactory 4 is a good game mode that you should try. If you want to try out SkyFactory for yourself, I'll leave a link in the description that will take you straight to the download page. Anyways, I'm gonna go play some more Skyblock and finally put those training weights to use. Bye!
Well, that shouldn't work. Okay, and then I just... What?! You can only have 1 active! Oh my gosh. You've got to be kidding me, man. Why did I not know about... This is a scam. I'm leaving. This is a scam.